The reality is, like, we have a livelihood. Like, we got families, we got a house. I just had my second kid. Faraz just had his third kid.
Jesus.
And we were both leaving our jobs. So you're leaving a stable income. The first year was pretty tough. I mean, we only did $70,000 in sales. So we're like, how is this going to fund and support everything?
Yeah.
You know? Our line of credit for the business was maxed out.
Yeah.
The credit cards were all maxed. To me, DTC marketing through ads like Meta and them and these different platforms was like a black hole. We understood the professional healthcare space. So we knew what we were comfortable with, which was get out there, work with the doctors. We got to get these doctors to be aware of this product's availability and its efficacy. It was just Faraz and I running around. Like, we split up Ontario between the two of us. At least for the first year and a half to 2 years, it was 3 to 4 days a week. We would be out in the field, like driving to like London. He'd be driving to Peterborough. And we're like, oh man, like, is this going to work? Anyone could launch a multivitamin. Not everyone wants to fight to be in UTI prevention, vaginal infection. Everybody has Cranberry, but they're all just standard Cranberry products. No one will say that they have this amount of this one molecule. For women, vaginal infections, overactive bladders, UTI prevention, we honed in this area. So they sell our products for, say, even on our website, it's about $120 for 90 capsules. You could get like a standard Cranberry for maybe 20 bucks.
What was your retention rate?
I think it's still about the same, like 65 to 70% retention rate.
That's insane. That's incredible. All right, great. Derek, welcome to the pod. Appreciate you for coming through.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, okay. So for those of you at home who don't know Derek, let me give you a quick spiel of the story. So Derek, you started your career in finance. You feel like it just, wasn't for you. And then you went and worked in China for 4 years, came back, you got into the pharmaceutical and medical device space. You worked in sales and marketing. You did that for the next 12 years. And so during that time, you always knew you wanted to do something of your own. And luckily you met your co-founder, Faraz, and you guys both saw this huge problem in antibiotics usage, especially for women's health issues like UTI. So basically, TLDR, people loved antibiotics because it was cheap, it was effective, but it leads to other problems since it just kills everything in your gut. It ruins your gut microbiome. And if you become resistant to antibiotics, it won't work when you need it to. So you guys basically saw this as an opportunity. And while you guys had your jobs, you worked on a product that would help with prevention of UTIs instead of just, treating it. And once the product was ready, you and your co-founder quit your stable, well-paying corporate jobs to pursue your dreams while you had a mortgage and I think 2 or 3 kids at the time?
Yeah.
3. And so I think at the time you guys set aside 1.5 years of savings, assuming you won't be able to pay yourselves for that time period. And instead of running ads right away, you knew that what really mattered is getting the doctors and physicians to actually recommend your product. So you guys went all in on the hospitals. You started from Sunnybrook and slowly but surely got a bunch of doctors to believe and recommend your product. And in your first year in 2018, you did $70K in sales. 6 months later, you're actually able to pay yourselves after that. And then 3 years in, you started getting into retailers like Rexall, Healthy Planet, Shoppers, and you've grown the business 60% year over year for the past 6 years. And last year, you just crossed $10 million in revenue. This year, you're projecting to close to, if not exceed 20 million. And all of this was 100% bootstrap, which is mind blowing. So yeah, this is, you have a pretty crazy story. Yeah.
Thanks for the intro, though.
Yeah, so my first thing I want to get into is, it seems like at this point you were about 12 years into pharmaceuticals. Prior to that, you worked in China and you had a finance job. So almost, I guess, 15 to 20 years into your career, you took that leap. Most founders, take that leap earlier where they never even bother getting a corporate job. But it seems to me like the later you take the leap, the harder it is. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about like what pushes you and what really motivated you to do that. Was it from, growing up, you feel like you always wanted to start your own thing, or was it later on in your career that something sparked?
Yeah, no, hey, great question. And thanks for the introduction.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that having an understanding that there is a world out there outside of like the corporate world to have business or to make money as well has always been there, and we've always known that through family or friends or whatnot.
Yeah.
It was very, very fortunate that I had met Faraz, my business partner. We were actually sales partners at Johnson & Johnson for a good number of years, and we both shared the same interest in entrepreneurial spirit, you could say. So yeah, you know what? In hindsight, it's almost like, yeah, we should have started earlier, but hey, in the end, like everything works out for a reason. I'm always a strong believer in that. And I think that, the fact that we've built up a strong career path in the corporate world actually allowed for us to put together a company now that kind of resonates what we believe is the best way to run a business. Is it the right way all the time? Might not be. It could be other approaches, but this is what we've been used to and what we're taught and what we learned through a corporate career. So yeah, it definitely led us to taking the plunge to say, hey, like, can we do something? Can we bring value to people? A big part of what we've done, we've always worked in healthcare. So we always want to help people in a way. Is there a way we can make people's lives better? And this is what kind of led us down this path. Also through personal experiences, like family members or friends that have suffered from UTIs as an example. And that is where we started. So seeing them and what they were going through, we always question, is there only one solution? Is it always a drug? Is it always antibiotics? Like what else can be done? And I would definitely say how we were able to start the business, because we come from that healthcare space, we understood how to position products and how to resonate with clinicians to win their trust, to give our products a try to see the results for their patients.
It seemed like the right path, because without spending that time in the pharmaceutical space, you wouldn't have the right understanding to solve this problem, right? And you wouldn't know how to, approach doctors and talk to them. And so it almost felt like this is the necessary path that you had to go through. And you couldn't, like, hypothetically, you started this business right out of college. It almost wouldn't have worked out, or it would have been impossible.
Faraz and I have always talked about, what if we didn't go to doctors? Because like you said, there's so many direct-to-consumer brands out there. People that just start a business right out of school. They rely on ads, on marketing. And I guess from our experience, from what we learned, we understood the professional healthcare space. We didn't know the direct-to-consumer space.
I see.
So
it's kind of the opposite.
It was the opposite from from all the noise that we're hearing about with all these different brands. So we knew what we were comfortable with, which was get out there, work with the doctors, convince them to try our products, things like that, as opposed to, what if we just launch a product and put it online? Who's going to see it? How are we going to get traction? And how much money do you need to get to that point? Whereas with what we were doing, we knew we could do it ourselves. And that's how we got going. But then again, in the end, we have a line of natural products, which we can market direct to consumer as well. So we've learned that over the years, and that has enabled us to kind of approach the consumer from two different perspectives.
I see. That makes sense. So I guess maybe we can start with Utiva Health. I'm pronouncing it right.
Utiva.
Utiva. All right. So we'll start with Utiva Health. So this is the star product, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
UTI control. So I read a bit of it online, and it seems like it basically has the same active ingredients as cranberry juice, or just cranberries, because I think that's a colloquial thing. If you have a UTI, go and drink cranberry juice, and then it will slowly get better over the next few days. But it seems like with this, if you take it, it has the same active ingredients, and it's going to prevent the infection instead of treating it after it's happened, right? I guess, like, tell me more about, I guess, like, the origin of the product, or how you guys came about. Was it you always knew, okay, UTI is the main issue? Was it always about prevention, or how did you guys stumble upon?
So and I'll explain to you why this product is unique as opposed to cranberry juice, for example. But we wanted to, first of all, we wanted to understand, like, how, as from a mindset, like, how are people being treated when they have a UTI, or how do they prevent it from coming on? And the most common answer is always antibiotics. Like, that's the only thing. So
it's the fastest.
There's got to be.
You don't want to suffer anymore. Just get it out of the way.
And almost anyone in the world, like, it's a huge problem outside of North America as well, because there's not that much education around antibiotic resistance. So people just take antibiotics all the time because it makes them feel better right away, and they're cheap. But what we found was, there's always been that story about, does cranberry work or not? Cranberry juice and just cranberries in general. But when you look at the actual data and the studies behind it, cranberry is skeptical whether or not it works or not.
Interesting.
What the data was showing, and what we were able to find out, was that there's this active molecule within the cranberry called proanthocyanidins, or we just call it PAX for short. So all cranberries have PAX, but they're usually in very small quantities. But you need the PAX to stop bacteria from sticking.
You gotta get the 2-liter jug of cranberry, and you gotta chug it.
Exactly. But how do you make that 2-liter jug into, like, one little shot a little shot of cranberry juice.
So it seems like cranberries do, or you just got to have a lot of it to get.
Have a lot. But the side effect of that 2-liter jug, though, is all the sugar.
Yeah.
So how much sugar are you consuming? And sugar feeds bacteria.
Yeah,
and
interesting.
At the same time, right? So realistically, what we did, we found this. We found a way to concentrate, or we found people that we can work with to help us concentrate the packs. And then we were able to put it all into one tiny little capsule, and then position it towards a prevention indication, so that we can work with like any kind of clinician to say, hey, like one of these a day is way more effective than drinking any amount of cranberry juice.
Yeah.
Right. And that's pretty much how we came about doing that, to make sure that we have like a prevention product that a physician could back. Not only that we have, it's mentioned in guidelines as well, like urology guidelines, as well as family physician guidelines that talk about like high pack concentration cranberry versus just regular cranberry products.
And at the time when you guys launched it, did you feel like were there similar products, but they were marketed really poorly? Or were you guys one of the very first to take this approach?
Yeah, so there are a couple other brands that have a 36 milligram pack product, like what we have here. We're the only ones in Canada with a true 36 milligram pack product.
I see.
However, there's a ton of cranberry products out there.
Yeah.
So when you look at companies like Jameson, Weber Natural, like big brands that we know, right? Everybody has cranberry, but they're all just standard cranberry products. No one will say that they have this amount of this one molecule, right? The challenging part for us is that our price point is a lot higher as a result of this, right? To make this product, it's not cheap.
I see.
So our product, as an example, well.ca, like they're like an online healthcare
the marketplace
retailer. Yeah. So they sell our products for, say, even on our website, it's about $120 for 90 capsules. You could get like a standard cranberry for maybe $20 for the same amount. So the question is, how are we able to educate consumers or physicians to actually understand that why is this product 6 times more expensive than another one?
Yeah. So you know that yours is probably the best for efficacy, but then now it's just about telling that story and making sure people believe in it, and they actually that makes sense.
Which is why we also found it hard to go direct to consumer right away. Like how do you explain this in an ad?
Yeah. So I guess like, when you first launched the product, you told me you went to Sunnybrook Hospital, you talked to physicians and doctors. Say that I didn't have a decade of pharmaceutical experience, and I'm just someone who's launching a brand in the space, and I know nothing about it. Do you think that person could also try, like, could they just cold email or just like knock on the doors of these doctors and try to talk to them? Like, would it still work, or like what would your advice be to them to go through that route? If they wanted to, hypothetically.
No, that's a good question. I mean, it could not just about this. It could be about anything that provides a benefit to someone.
Yeah.
You know what? There's always opportunity. I always say, hey, like if you don't knock on doors, you're never going to know, right? So I always say, you got to, the one thing I would say in working in the medical field though, in the medical industry is to just understand how to position a product so that you capture the attention and you can show value for a patient, right? As long as you can do those things, maybe as someone that's brand new, that's never done anything like this before, might want to, talk to a consultant or talk to somebody else who's done this, like talk to us, for example, and we can help as an example. Right?
I see. So when you say position, you mean like these are the existing solutions. This is what they do. These are the pros and cons. This is where we fit.
Yes.
Right. And then so that the doctors or physicians understand, like, in which cases would it make sense to recommend you, or for which problems, or what are the pros and cons, right? If the patient just doesn't have money, they can't afford this, right? But if they can't afford it, this is the more effective solution to the problems. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit of an art, but it's something that we learned from experience. Like working in the pharmaceutical industry and the medical device industry, that's all they do is work with clinicians, right? How do you position things? How do you make ads cater to them? Right?
Do you guys remember your first sale coming in? Was it like a big dopamine rush?
Oh, totally. I mean, we had started when we launched, because as a small business, when we launched, like we were only online. So we had our website, like Shopify website.
Yeah.
We weren't even on Amazon right away. So it was literally just Shopify.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple pharmacies, like outpatient pharmacies. So like Sunnybrook would have a pharmacy where patients can go buy stuff. So we had a couple little sales like that. But I remember watching the sales come into Shopify and be like, oh, we got an order. Like somebody bought.
Yeah.
And it would be like one every like other day at first. And we're like, oh man, like, is this gonna work? Like,
And did
it's
you
like
know where
$40?
Did you know where they were coming from at the time? Or were you just like sitting and watching, be like, oh my God, it's happening? Like,
no. We kind of, we knew where we were putting our efforts behind. But it started really slow.
And the first couple was from doctors and physicians recommending them and then them checking it out online.
Most likely.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. We were pretty confident because that was the only marketing we were really doing.
Yeah.
Mind you, at that time, we also said, okay, maybe we should put like $500 to like digital ad awareness. And we had a freelance person doing it for us.
Yeah.
To me, DTC marketing through ads like Meta in them and these different platforms was like a black hole. It was just like a black hole that sucked your money. And if you didn't have enough money, you just...
And you also didn't come from that world, right? You spent almost 2 decades in pharmaceuticals and healthcare, and that didn't rely on Meta ads. Yeah, I see. So those were the first couple of sales. And then tell me more about like, what did you do when did it start ramping up and what led to that?
I think over the first year and a half to 2 years, it was just Faraz and I running around. Like we split up Ontario between the two of us. He took like Yonge Street East, I took Yonge Street West. And we went and talked to all the clinicians that we knew, all the hospitals. Like we work a lot with urologists, gynecologists, some primary care as well. And that's how we started. We're like, we got to get these doctors to be aware of this product's availability and its efficacy, right?
Stupid question. Would you just like call them and be like, hey, when can
door to door, man.
Door to door? Would you come with a little gift? Like how?
We had products, we had samples, we had everything we knew that we would need.
Yeah.
Coming from the industry.
To
promote the product at first.
And
that's how it started, right?
And then so you guys just would do that every single day in and day out for
pretty much
for like, the first almost year, I guess.
I would say at least for the first year and a half to 2 years, it was 3 to 4 days a week. We would be out in the field, like driving to like London, he'd be driving to Peterborough, like, and we'd be like going up north, like all over the place.
And during that first year and a half, I'm assuming like it's really tough to just be on the road every day. But did you guys see like, I guess, relatively consistent results? So you guys felt motivated to keep going. So as you hit more clinics, you can see sales slowly going up. Clinicians were just receptive. So was it just like a positive feedback loop? So you guys were just like hungry to go get it? Or were there some months where it was just like, you guys are like, oh, we don't really know if it's going to work?
Hey, that's a great question. Because the reality is like, we have a livelihood. Like we got families, we got a house.
Mortgage.
Like you said earlier, I just had my second kid. Faraz just had his third kid.
Jesus.
So, I mean, and we were both leaving our jobs. So you're leaving a stable income. Stable income with a future of growth. And literally going to like no pay. Like you said, we budgeted a year and a half. So I would say the first year was pretty tough. I mean, we only did $70,000 in sales. So we're like, how is this going to fund and support everything? You know, that was the biggest concern, I would say.
So were there specific moments that just felt really bleak in the first year or relatively okay?
Oh, yeah, it definitely crossed our mind. It definitely crossed our mind where in the first year, we're like, hey, is this going to work? Like, is this going to turn into something? But I would always say, and this is what I hear from a lot of other founders as well, whether it's direct to consumer or any kind of business, but the first year and a half to 2 years is always the hardest because it wasn't until about a year and a half in that we really started seeing some traction. And I know you said earlier that we were bootstrapped, but we did raise a little bit of money.
Friends and family.
Yeah, friends and family, but strategic partners, people that could bring value into what we were doing. So we raised this like a small amount, maybe like 15% equity overall. And we raised it, of course, at like a super inflated valuation because we only had $70,000 in sales, right? And, but we needed that little bit because we were at a point where our line of credit for the business was maxed out. The credit cards were all maxed. We had to pay a couple suppliers and we were just about to get into Rexall for our first retailer. And we were literally maxed out on everything and we didn't want to put more personal money into
Uh-huh.
it at that point.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, let's raise some money enough to get us over this hump. And then
Mhm.
after that, knock on wood, we were very fortunate, I would say, that things started to really accelerate for us.
So it was the year and a half point that it
It's
started
a year and a half to
then
2 years.
What
yeah.
was driving that?
So I think overall it was just the results of returning customers. Like
Mhm.
we saw that we had a strong retention rate,
Yeah.
meaning that we had a good product.
Yeah.
It still in my eyes comes down to the product. If
Mm.
you don't have a good product in the long term,
What
people will see, right?
what was your retention rate?
So we're sitting at around, I think it's still about the same, like 65 to 70%
Yeah.
retention rate.
That's insane. That's
which
incredible.
which is
Yeah.
pretty good. I mean, but we are very solution oriented as well,
Yeah.
right? It's not just like we have something that these aren't necessarily the type of products that anyone just on a spur of a moment pick up and buy.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
if you have a condition that you want to see different results from,
Yeah.
you would consider it, right?
Yeah.
So you have that longevity with the customer.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was like that 2-year mark. Man, that was a stressful time
Mhm.
to get it to that point. And then, Rexall came on. We saw our ability to communicate with more physicians. We
Yeah.
went to conferences. We started traveling a bit more,
Mhm.
just to build the awareness.
Was it
So,
tough to get into Rexall?
Yeah, I'd say retail is not easy to get
Yeah.
into. But I would also, the reason why we went into retail though, is because these types of products, if you're being recommended by a physician or somebody has a problem and they want it resolved right away,
Uh-huh.
they don't necessarily want to wait for
Yeah.
shipping that might
They
take
w-
1 to 4
They
days.
want to walk down the aisle
Yeah,
and just pick it up
exactly.
versus yeah.
So retail, I have a love-hate relationship with retail. We're
Yeah.
on a podcast, so careful what I say. But like
Yeah.
retail is risky, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of risk involved because as a small brand, you're at the mercy of the big
Yeah.
retailers.
You can't negotiate the terms.
You
It's
have
on their
no,
terms.
Yeah, you have no negotiating power.
And
It's
if
on their
things don't
terms.
sell through, it basically gets returned.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming covering for the logistics cost of sending
Everything.
it and returning.
The retailer doesn't pay for anything.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
In the end.
Sweet.
So we were also very strategic. We went to Rexall. I mean, Rexall is a smaller retail, right?
Uh-huh.
But I mean,
They're still
manageable.
everywhere, honestly. Yeah.
400 stores,
Yeah,
right?
they're still
About
huge.
350 to 400 stores. But they've been a huge supporter for us. Like they carry all of our products. So you have a nice Utiva row of products on their shelf.
Nice.
But we were careful about the other retailers because we are always concerned about velocity, right? Like
Yeah.
how much is moving. If the product's not moving, like you said,
Yeah.
it's going to come back to you. And that can hurt a small business.
Yeah.
That could probably put a small business under.
Yeah. So you don't want to be
Right.
greedy with retail. You want to get in there when you feel like your brand is big enough to actually
Yeah.
move the volume. What?
But I'll add to that.
Yeah.
A certain mindset of that is that we were literally bootstrapped.
Hmm.
Right? Like if we decided to ever raise money
Yeah.
and I had like $5 million in the bank,
Yeah.
I could take that chance and then just
Mhm.
create
Yeah.
the awareness
Worst
with
case,
ads.
the product comes back. Like who
Yeah.
cares, right?
Yeah, we still got money, but
Yeah.
like everything's bootstrapped. So we had a bit of a different mindset on.
I see.
You know?
And I guess with Rexall, like, I mean, you told me, Rexall, you started because you felt like it was a risk that you guys were able to take at the time. How do you actually go about, is there math behind what's the math behind what's the risk that we can take? Is it purely just about, okay, the order they're going to place, do we have the cash to fulfill it? And if a percentage of it comes back, is the business going to stay alive? Is that the math that you're doing
So-
to see like, do I take on the order from this retailer?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah.
The bigger part is still more, do we trust that people will go buy it from there?
Mm.
Do we
Just
trust
a
that
gut
we
feeling.
can move? Yeah, we can do 1 to 2 units a month. Like they have
Yeah.
low, like the expectations don't sound that high.
Yeah.
But if you're moving 1 to 3 units a month
Yeah.
per store, that's considered pretty decent, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just a gut feeling. Like we knew that we would put efforts towards it. So for example, we would find ways to let the physicians know that when they recommend our products, it's also available at Rexall. So we're trying to drive traffic to Rexall at the same time, right?
I see.
Drive traffic to well.ca. They listed us early as well.
I see.
So things like that. And you're doing everything you can to support the movement of product
Mhm.
at the retail level.
Mhm.
But not everything's a success story. We had a product in Rexall that wasn't moving and we decided, hey, we should pull that off the shelf. That was our probiotic. It wasn't doing that well and we replaced it with our overactive bladder product here, which has done very well there. So I mean, there are risks, and we did lose a bit on that one, but that's fine. I mean, we learn, right?
I see.
And that just makes you be careful about what you do, right? You think twice, do your calculations right. Like, is this the right product? Is it the right time? Are we able to support the presence of it on the shelf?
Gotcha.
And that's the biggest thing.
So then at a year and a half, getting to Rexall, you're doing conferences. I guess it's more relevant to this niche, but I guess anybody who's selling in the healthcare or like medical space, you go to these conferences to build these relationships, I guess with clinicians, practitioners, with the industry. I guess are you guys right now selling in Canada and US? So then for these conferences, you were telling me like you guys split Ontario in half, right? And then is the goal of these conferences to meet physicians in like other parts of Canada / US where you guys can't just go to and go on the road every single day to meet them? Is that kind of the
Yeah. So, you know, because their stuff's online,
Yeah.
right? Like we're still direct to consumer in that sense. When it's just for us and there's just the two of us, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
So we split up Ontario.
Mhm.
Sometimes we'd take trips to Quebec together or hit Montreal, but that was it. So the only way to build that network nationally, we'll talk Canada first, but to build it nationally, we would have to go to conferences. So we'd find like the urology conferences for Canada or like BC primary care conference, whatever it might be, right? But we would travel and go to these conferences. So the two of us would literally be on the road quite a bit, but also going to these conferences for the first few years. It wasn't until we could build a team that we were able to it would help us not travel as much personally.
I see. It's cool. I didn't know there's a urology conference, but now I know.
There's conferences for everything. Yeah. Like your Ecom North, right? Like there's conferences. Like events is a huge business.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then I guess from there, what was the next big milestone that, was like whether you guys hit or like what was the next like growth lever that really helped push the business forward?
This is Nick, and 10 years ago, he started a business that makes it easier and more affordable for Canadian e-com brands to ship their packages.
Wait, yo, this place is huge. How many orders do you guys ship?
Over 10 million a year. It's about 50,000 a day.
He started out building his own e-commerce brand, but soon realized how crazy and unaffordable the shipping costs were for Canadian businesses. And no one was doing anything about it back in 2014, so he decided to take matters into his own hands. 10 years later, he built the #1 e-com shipping service in Canada, where Canadian brands can get 40 to 80% off versus the national carrier.
Wait, James. This is not what this video is about.
Wait, what?
I know we made shipping better in Canada, but we're working on something new.
Okay, so what is it?
So when was the last time you've been to an event just for DTC people in Canada?
So long story short, Nick felt like there was no dedicated event just for D2C or e-com people in Canada. All the big conferences in Canada are way too generic, and all the good ones are in the US. So Nick and his team spent 9 months planning and hosting the first, the only, and the biggest conference 100% dedicated for D2C founders and operators last year at the Sheraton. And it was a huge success. They sold out 1,000 tickets, they had amazing speakers and partners, and people loved it. And this year, we're running it back in Toronto at the Meridian Hall for a full 2-day conference with amazing speakers like Ezra Firestone, Michaela Go, David Siegel, and so many more. We know that there's tons of events out there, but we promise you, this is different than any other event you've been to. Ecom North is a labor of love hosted by and for people who have been in the D2C space for over 15 years. There's no fluff or boring surface level keynotes, only real stories and actionable tips from real founders who's done it themselves. And if you're still on the fence, well, don't take it from us. This is what people had to say about the first conference from last year.
You know, it's interesting you asked that. I don't think there was ever one solid thing
that I would all
say.
The fundamentals.
Yeah,
really
it was like all the fundamentals, and it was when I look at when you hear all the noise about how fast direct to consumer brands can grow.
Yeah,
it kind of you kind of feel jaded in the sense that how come we're not doing that? How come we're not getting like 8,000% growth year over year, right?
Yeah.
But then you see there are pros and cons to that at the same time, right? And what I would say is that we've had moderate to strong growth, I'd say.
60% consistently is insane, yeah.
And I know that if we stopped spending on ads, like we would still grow.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to a lot of these brands that grow super fast, like without that ad spend.
Yeah.
They might diminish.
Yeah. There's brands that
are linked to it.
If you think about like native deodorant, like basically a bunch of brands were built when meta ads were super cheap. It was not as competitive. And then you build up to that volume, but then the moment meta gets more competitive and the CPM rises, they lose that competitive edge and it's harder to grow and they stagnate.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of, I think, e-com brands that went public during the golden era, and then the stock price just goes like this, and then it just goes back to like a couple cents. So
when the cost of acquisition is so high, right, and it keeps going up, right? I think that the brands that were relying only on that for their revenue, like the margins start to dwindle.
So then
quite
for you guys,
right?
I know you told me right now your sales are about, let's just say, relatively evenly split, like a third retail, a third D2C, a third Amazon. And I know that I think it weighs a bit more into D2C, I think, or Amazon, right? So like roughly speaking, a third. And then would you say it's the same thing with like, with your team or like even your budget and time investments across your team? Do you feel like it's also kind of evenly split, or you feel like there's a bit more effort into one area?
That's a great question. You got good questions.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I would definitely say that one thing I'll step back and say, one of the channels is Amazon.
Yeah.
At first, when we launched, we were like, hey, we want to control the customer, right? We want direct to consumer. We want to know who our customer is, right? Just like all DTC brands, right?
Yeah.
So we want to know them. We want their email. We want to keep in touch. So we went on Amazon just because we knew that people like that access. And when you think about it, like 60% of all online sales are still Amazon, right? That's something like that. It's some crazy number, right?
Yeah.
And so we always wanted to fight Amazon. Then after a while, we're like, oh man, we can't fight Amazon, right? Like people want Amazon and it's there, and Amazon
can't beat them, join them.
Yeah. So Amazon, I think for the first like 3-4 years, we were thinking, okay, we got to keep the direct to consumer sales higher than Amazon, right? But then slowly Amazon just kept growing and growing and growing. And, so Amazon has definitely surpassed our direct to consumer approach from a Shopify perspective.
Makes sense.
But with Amazon also comes headaches. The scary thing about Amazon, I would say though, is that if a listing goes down, that's an immediate impact to your top line number, right? Like
when you say down, as in you're not ranking number one, or down as in you're out of stock,
or you're out of stock, whatever happens, whatever it is, suddenly a SKU is not being able to be sold.
Yeah.
Like for example, we ship into the US. There was a time when someone complained about our packaging. Not someone, like I think Amazon was like, hey, something you're saying on your packaging isn't right.
Yeah.
But we justified it and we said, yeah, it is right. But it took them like a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
To agree with us.
Yeah.
But that's like 14 days of sales of our top line product that just disappeared.
Yeah. And I guess with other channels, your listing would never not exist.
Yeah.
For whatsoever reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Shoppers and Rexall are not that strict.
Yeah. So when Amazon, if Amazon, for example, is 50% of your revenue and suddenly like your store disappears for like a week.
Yeah.
Like that's significant.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
That's terrifying,
very terrifying,
right? So that's the scary thing I would say about Amazon. The others, nothing else would ever shut off just like that. That's when Amazon controls everything. It's a big problem, right? If something goes down. When you talk about like the split and what really took off, I would definitely say Amazon was a part of it. Like in terms of the size of its growth and how fast it can propel sales. If managed properly as well.
And when you guys saw the sales from Amazon, do you feel like it cannibalizes a little bit from D2C at first? Or
100%.
Yeah.
And you're gonna lose your direct to consumer to Amazon because I just think there's so much trust that people have with Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon makes it easy.
And the friction is one click. Yeah. And I feel like with your category, I mean, these days if I buy collagen, if I buy protein powder, but if I need to buy vitamin, like I'm going to Amazon right away because it's just convenient.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Sometimes if it's expensive, I'll cross-check the actual website to be like, am I getting a better deal? But like most of the time, anything under $50, I'm like, I'm just going to go Amazon right away.
And not only that, I think from a consumer mindset, people don't always know a website. Like, where is this website? Who are they?
Yeah.
But if it's on Amazon, they know that they can return it right away if they don't like it.
Yeah.
So there's
it's
a bit
standard
of that
procedure.
It's
zero risk.
They make it easy and they get it next day.
Yeah.
If you order from any direct-to-consumer website, there's never a guarantee you're going to get it the next day. Like we like to say, we're going to ship fast. I know that in the GTA, you'll probably get it the next day. But if you're in BC, it might take like 3 to 5 days.
Yeah. And for someone with UTI, the 3 to 5 days is a really long time.
So yeah, exactly. So Amazon is a big part. Yeah, is a big part of our business. When you asked me a question earlier about where is our time spent.
Yeah, the split.
So as we've grown, we have a team of about 21 or 22 people now. A big chunk of it is still focused on doctors. So we have a sales team, inside and outside sales team that works with the doctors.
Just say there's like half the team, maybe.
It's probably like about like a third of the company is on the sales side, and they're the ones that are working with the clinicians.
Got it.
Like,
So they're on the road now, building that relationship.
Yes, exactly.
Or calling and okay, great.
Or calling, right? So we have we do it as a bit of a split. So we have a marketing and a sales team on that side of the business just to manage that size and continue to grow it. We also have a team focused on marketing and direct to consumer. So all of our ads, social media, and then a smaller team, but supporting retail as well. So like, how do we onboard with different retailers? There's a lot of work. When it comes to retail, there's a lot of work to manage the retailers, manage promotions, sales cycles, listing products, changes. There's retail is a lot of work, and retail takes a big cut too. Right. Like it's all for volume when it comes to retail, right? You take a big hit on the margins of the business.
That makes sense. So it sounds like it seems like there's a bit more time allocated to the clinician and doctor side, because that's ultimately, it seems like that's like where the root of the growth is like stemming from, and then you kind of evenly allocate the rest.
We know that if clinics and doctors and professionals are recommending our product line, the patients can go anywhere to get it. We try to get them to come to our website, but in the end, as long as they're getting it from somewhere. So we try to make sure they could go to retail, they can go to Amazon, they can come to our website. Try the website, but in the end, like, the people that are also using our products are, I'd say, usually 40 plus in age for the most part, and therefore I think a lot of them gravitate naturally to retail or to Amazon.
That makes sense.
Right? And it's not always trackable. This is the problem with retail, is that anyone in the direct to consumer space likes to see the results. I put this in, this is what I got out. It's very hard to see that in retail.
And then if you pull Nielsen reports or whatever, it's like what, like 2 months later, it's impossible to use those softwares.
And it's expensive.
It's very expensive.
The data is so expensive.
I think one of the toughest things with, I guess, innovating and like building a product is that you're gonna have copycats and you're gonna have competitors. So, when you launched, you said you guys were the first one in Canada with, I forgot, like the amount of active ingredient was, you guys were the highest in Canada. Over the last 6-7 years, was it tough dealing with people trying to copy and seeing like, whoa, this space is huge, this space is growing, let's copy and do something. And then how do you kind of deal with that?
That's a great question, because it is tough. Like, there is always going to be copycats. Anybody that builds, I almost feel like we've kind of developed and built a segment in here itself, because I just believe that we're convincing patients that we have a solution for UTIs. It's not just Cranberry, okay? Even though it is Cranberry based, but it's a solution for UTIs. Now, yes, there are definitely copycats that have come on after us, but people might say that, hey, we also are similar to other brands that existed before us. But one thing I can say is that we maintain our quality and we stand to support ourselves. So rather than focusing our time on attacking competitors, we just focus on our brand, right? Whereas we do see the runners up or the other copycats will focus on us to pull people to them.
I see.
As opposed to, you know what I mean? Instead of like, so they're spending their energy to advertise against us versus us just building our brand for what we stand for. And I think there's a lot of credibility with that. The other side too is the natural product space is a very tricky one. It's not, even though it is regulated by Health Canada, there are easy loopholes around to have not good quality products. So I would definitely say that there are competitors out there, local in Canada, who claim to say they provide what we have, but they don't, because we test them.
So these don't have drug identification numbers.
So they have NPN numbers.
NPN.
Yeah.
Numbers.
So a DIN, as you know, is a drug number. So these all have NPN. So
what is NPN?
An NPN stands for natural product number.
Okay.
So if you look at any supplement you take, like a vitamin, multivitamin, magnesium, whatever you're taking, they all will most likely have an NPN. If not, that means they have not been Health Canada approved.
I see. So if someone were to start a natural product from scratch, I'm assuming whatever manufacturer they work with whether it's here or in China or wherever, the manufacturer will probably be like, hey, like we know what the NPN standards are. These will meet it. And then we'll like as a brand owner, do you have to fully understand it all, or you kind of trust your if I'm a newbie, can I just trust my manufacturer? Hey, he understands NPN, he'll take care of it. I don't have to worry about that. And then once the product gets sent to me, do I have to like I guess submit it to a association? Like how does that work? Like if I want to start from scratch.
So to sell, well, first of all, to sell a natural product in Canada legally, you have to get a number, so an NPN number, meaning that you need to submit all the clinical data and the product information to Health Canada.
Okay.
And then they will go through it all and then send you back, if it's approved, they'll send you back the NPN number telling you what you can or cannot say on your packaging, on your label. Like all the words on these products are all
has to get approved.
Has to be approved, right, by Health Canada.
I see.
So that is the process in doing that. But to get it, you have to have the licenses.
Are there similar regulations to your, I guess, website copy ads because of this space? I know certain spaces are more sensitive, but for natural products with your website copy, do you have to be really careful, or like
you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be compliant to what your packaging says. I would say a lot of companies are not, because not everyone's watching that.
And it changes all the time. So it's
it changes a lot. And we have to have double of everything, right? So because we're also in the US. So our US like everything you see here, we have a US version of it.
Oh, you can't make a version that I guess just works with both countries?
Exactly.
Okay, you need a dedicated. Okay.
You need a dedicated different line to do it properly. You have to have a dedicated packaging, copy, the writing, everything has to be like US specific or Canada specific. So we have double. Everything you see here, there's another version of it in the US.
It's a lot of work. When I was working in at L'Oreal, I would whenever we would launch a product, so I was working in skincare, I would have to review the packaging. Luckily for skincare, they're not as strict. So you can have the same packaging that works across Canada and US, which is pretty sweet. But then it was always confusing. Like there's a SKU and there's a US version, a Europe version, an Asia version, and they're all different. Or I have cases where I would have to. There was these skincare products with SPF. There's a DIN number, and then we would have to basically get all the shipment from Europe, from France, in our head office. Then we would have to redo the label with stuff that abides to the DIN regulations in Canada. And then we have to rework and relabel every single product and cover specific words with a sticker. It'd just be a nightmare. I forgot about that. Was my past life. I'm like away from it now, but like
this is what it is. So we're, as an example, we're looking in other countries as well, and certain export countries, and we have to redo the packaging for certain.
Where are you guys looking into? So Canada, US is huge. What's the next biggest?
I can't tell you everything for the podcast, but like, we have some export partners in other countries that will end up being working with. Not that it's a secret, but
but you don't want
we
the
have competitors too, right?
Okay.
So we have some export countries that we're working with, and but everything is a lot of work. Like every single country is, you have to go to the embassy, you have to get these documents, you have to show your GMP certificates, your ISO certificates. Products, like there's a lot of work. There's a lot of legwork, I would say. And I don't know like what other non-healthcare products might be. Like I'm sure there's regulations, but definitely in the healthcare side, there's quite a few like hoops and hurdles that we gotta get through to get stuff.
And I think that's the thing is like it seems like when you build a brand in this space with a higher barrier to entry and more friction, it's a more defensible brand because nobody can just without a decade or two of experience, they can't just learn this overnight and come in and build something.
The barrier to entry is a little harder, right? Mind you, I've seen some brands that launched around when we did that did very well only direct to consumer. And you know what? I've always taken my hats off to them. Like I don't know how they did it, but they've done an amazing job only direct to consumer.
I guess if you think about is AG1 a natural supplement?
So it would be here. But I don't know if they sell AG1 here as an NPN. So the difference is that an American product can be sold to a Canadian consumer. It doesn't have to meet Canada standards.
Oh, well,
but a Canadian product.
That's not fair.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. This is a bigger issue here.
Okay.
But a Canadian product cannot be sold to an American consumer
I see.
without being FDA compliant.
I see.
Otherwise,
I
the Canadian company will get in trouble. But Canada allows
see.
us to buy products from the US.
I see.
That's not approved.
So when you guys were looking at AG1's growth,
Yeah.
were you guys thinking, oh, is there a similar problem in the greens powder space that you guys would potentially tackle, or did you guys assess that market and said no, or
So
did
there's so many things after doing this that we would love to do and
Yeah.
want to do. But with the brands that we have, we took a very clinical approach to it and a very niche area. Like everything is very therapeutic focused, right? Like I said, they're not really mass market products.
Yeah.
To me, AG1, I love what they've done.
Yeah, but it's super mass market.
super
this
mass
is for
market.
everyone.
Yeah.
This is the daily.
Anyone could take this, right? We went niche, and you know, I think that there's varying degrees of challenges on both sides. However, you know, we focused here, and I think it's an area that we realize that if you focus in a niche area and you become the brand, you become the trust that's there for patients, for consumers, for clinicians.
Yeah.
Then there's longevity in that as well. And not everyone's trying to fight to be. Not everyone wants to fight to be in UTI prevention, vaginal infections, iron deficiency. Like, it's not everyone that wants to be in this space.
Yeah.
But anyone could launch a multivitamin.
That makes sense. I guess the brand what we're thinking about today.
Yeah.
Any specific? I know you have revenues goals for this year, but any other goals that you have that you're looking to do just this year in general? You know.
Goals for this year. I mean, one of the biggest things we want to do is grow the US.
Yeah.
So the US makes up about 30% of our sales right now. And I still strongly believe that even though we've completed 7 years in the business now. So we're definitely not a startup anymore, even though it feels like a startup still. We're definitely more in the small business space, I'd say. The US is always is a strong focus for us going forward.
Is it because is growth there harder because I think clinicians and physicians in the US is just like a different reality from here? Like I feel like just from online content, it seems like insurance is more complicated. They make more money, but they also have to deal with more shit. Like is it just harder to build that relationship and get in touch with them? And there's so many other players. It seems like physicians is where like that's what's driving all the growth, right? And so how do you want to grow the US?
Yeah, so again, it'll come down to investment, like getting on the ground, having the reps in the US.
Do you guys have reps in the US right now?
We do. We do. Yeah, so it's getting the reps like activated a bit more, hyper focusing. Like we're focusing as an example in specific states as opposed to like the entire US because you know, the US is huge, right? Technically, and for any brand that has a strong presence in North America, the US is like 5 to 10 times greater than Canada.
Yeah.
So the opportunity, we feel that, you know, in the next 5 years or so, we're still at the tip of the iceberg. So if we do things correctly, we do things properly, we have the right people in place to work with the clinicians, but also to build that direct to consumer presence as well, which is a big part of the investment we're looking at as well in the US.
Yeah.
There's so much more room for growth still.
So with the US, obviously these days tariffs is a really big question. Like we can cut this out after if you're uncomfortable, but with the tariffs, I'm assuming your products are affected. Like how do you have you thought about it? Is it stressing you out? What are you going to do about it?
So, hey, again, I see, especially from a few of our other engagements and other brands that we've met, you know, the tariffs for shipping from Canada to the US, that is, especially with the de minimis ruling as well, like there's a lot of, that could impact a lot of brands.
It's like the $800 value and below, there's like there's weird no formula, something,
So for us though, we have 3PL in the US, we have 3PL in Canada. So we're not shipping.
So you guys had 3PL in the US even prior to this?
Yes,
Okay.
So we've always had two separate entities, like not entities, but like two different storage locations. So if a US customer, if we ship anywhere in the US, it ships from within the US.
I see.
Canada ships from within Canada.
And I think some brands only have like a Canadian brand sometimes only have 3PLs in Canada. Why did you guys have one in the US already?
It all comes down to the FDA compliance as well.
Oh, so you were forced to.
We were not, I wouldn't say forced to, but it was the best
Yeah,
decision to
for
do
the
it.
FDA. Okay.
Keep it separate, right?
Okay,
Keep our
gotcha.
products separate. So we don't keep US inventory here.
Mhm.
And also, it's also with taxes, right? Like,
Okay,
if-
so you're
if-
chilling. You're not stressed then.
so no, but the tariffs will impact us in the sense that right now we still ship from Canada in
Yeah.
bulk
to
my
okay.
warehouse, but it's a different price point than like selling
Oh.
to the consumer for
You're right,
100
you're
bucks
right.
versus our
So
production
now you'd want to
costs,
ship from manufacturer to US
which we
and then manufacturer.
So, well, we would keep everything the same. However, even prior to this, we've already been scoping out and lining up manufacturers in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anything, over the next 6 months, if we feel that there's an impact, we
Yeah.
can just activate and turn on our US manufacturing.
Nice.
And then, therefore, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So, we've
It's a
already
great
prepped
blessing,
for this. Yeah.
Great blessing in disguise that you
Yeah,
already
yeah.
had it all figured out.
Yeah, when this timing
Nice.
happened, like, yeah, it didn't impact us too much. There
Mhm.
will be some impact, but
Yeah.
I think we can manage it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Something I always ask guests is that, a lot of people are kind of watching, and I'm curious, like, what you guys need help with right now. It could even be personal, it could be business, but if someone happens to be watching and they're an expert in this specific field, or they know someone that can help with what you're doing, they can definitely reach out. So yeah, anything that you feel like you guys are trying to figure out that you guys need help with,
I would say there's two areas. One is improving our direct-to-consumer presence in the U.S., like what we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That's always been a challenging aspect of making sure ads. How do we resonate with the consumer better to drive better results from ad spend or building that brand awareness in the U.S. In a profitable manner, right? Like we've always been a profitable business, so we don't want to run a negative just to acquire customers as well. Like that's not. It has not been on our radar to do that, although it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
The other would be how to differentiate us from competitors who, for example, claim to be the same as us, but we're not allowed to say that they're not. Right? Because there are like ad standards that do not allow competitive ads to be made.
You can't compare.
You can't compare.
Interesting.
Even though I have, for example, we would have lab results or trials that would compare, but I'm not allowed to market it myself
Interesting.
to say that there's a difference.
For example, if you think about Tylenol versus Life, right? Tylenol is more expensive, but I think the common understanding is that they work just as well, right?
Yeah.
Or like they work pretty much the same.
So it's not
is that
even
kind
that.
of that?
No,
it's not even that.
I'm saying it's like you take a vitamin C tablet
Yeah.
that says it's got 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C.
Uh-huh.
You buy another brand that says it has 1,000 milligrams as well,
Uh-huh.
but that brand actually only has like 10.
Huh, but they're allowed to say they have 1,000?
But no one's checking.
But can you sue them? Can you how does it
don't know.
work? I don't know.
That's where we're kind of stuck.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
see.
And when you're not allowed to make that comparison.
And I guess
publicly.
hopefully the only way is that when people take these products, they don't see the results and they leave a bad review and the retention is low. Like
in the end,
hopefully
yeah,
it ends up working out, but
for sure.
on the surface, customers can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Interesting.
problem with this industry. I'd say
Yeah.
that's the tough part with.
So the
this space.
regulation is lacking a little bit.
Exactly.
Because
yeah.
Okay.
Like it's hey, in the end, if you have a good product, I strongly believe that having a quality product, in the end, something that you would give to your family or your kids if they needed it, and if you have a good product, there's longevity in that, and people will see that.
You know what's really interesting? So say like you have a phone case or you have a shoe. There's all these YouTubers and content creators who review them, who cuts a shoe open in half and tells you which one is better. Obviously, at that point, you're kind of at their mercy. So you're like sending them free products or paying them money. But there's a third party that is unbiased,
Consumer reviews
usually,
kind of
that
thing.
can review it. But in this case, it's kind of tough, right? I mean, I guess doctors is who we would trust to recommend. And hopefully, I guess doctors can tell the lab results that hey, this product is better.
That's where you could potentially go.
But online is really, really tricky.
Yes,
Okay.
because there's a lot of potential litigation that can come from that as well, right?
Got it. That's really interesting. I know a lot of founders I talk to always have a ton of business ideas, but you can't always execute on all of them because time is limited. Are there any ideas that you're happy to give away for free that you're like, hey, this is a cool idea. I know I'm not going to go and do it, but I'll give it to people on the listening to the pod if they want to take it, go run with it. Anything that comes to mind?
Like Faraz and I have as an example, like the two of us we always talk about our business ideas together.
Yeah.
We've always had a ton of ideas. I would just say trying different. There's no harm in trying things out. Sometimes you don't know until something like something sinks in. And we've always been in healthcare. So we've had brands that we've tried to do in the past as well that didn't work out. Not that we lost a lot of money, but we realized this is not going to be good for the long run. So we shut it down, and this is where we are today. For new ideas, you know, there are things that we are passionate about that we like. For example, like we talked about endurance sports earlier, right? Like we love hydration, right? Things that can help with hydration or fueling the body, functional foods, things like that. So these are hot areas right now that I would say I don't have anything specific, but
if the right
it's in that
opportunity.
area, like kind of ride the market, like what's interest, what are people interested in right now, but to find something that actually has value, like there's a point of differentiation between you and whatever else is out there on the market, right? Because you know there's a ton of Me Too's out there.
That makes sense.
Shipping costs is one of the biggest line items for any D2C brand. So what if I told you you can save up to 75% versus the national carrier? Well, the good news is you actually can. Stylin Express is Canada's #1 shipping service, and for a good reason. They are the most affordable way for Canadian D2C brands to ship and fulfill their packages to anywhere in the world. And it's super easy to use. It just takes 5 minutes to create a free account online, input your order, and they'll find the best postage rates across all of the carriers for you. Then you just print it and drop it off at one of the many Stylin locations near you. They've already helped Canadian brands save over $100 million in shipping costs over the last 10 years. And for listeners of the Warehouse podcast, there's a special offer just for you if you're shipping over 500 orders a month and you're looking for a new and reliable 3PL. So Stylin's 3PL Fulfillment Center is offering $10,000 in shipping credit. Their 3PL has the best shipping prices from Canada to anywhere in the world guaranteed, a 99.99% picking accuracy, 24-hour turnaround from order to shipment, and finally, they operate 365 days a year. So just sign up with the link in the description and get $10,000 of shipping credit today.
Let's just say I have zero experience in natural supplements. And if I have an idea and I'm really passionate about the space and I want to start a product here, what would be like 1 to 2 pieces of advice that are very, very, very like practical, very executional that you can give me around starting in this space that's, you know, that's harder to, high barrier to entry, high friction. What would you kind of tell me?
I would definitely say do your research first to make sure that what you want to do, like there is a product market fit for that, right? Like whether it's
don't just trust your idea. Listen to the customer.
Like take a look at what's out there right now and do that market research. Like, is this something new versus am I making a variation of what's out there already, right? That is one, to understand, is there an opportunity for me to further explore, right?
When you did your research, did you rely on like, I guess, clinical data, or did you also look at, like, did you also run like surveys and did you just go ask like 100 friends or like some strangers? How did you go about doing your research?
So we knew a lot of clinicians already in the space. So we product market fit.
We just talked to
first.
them.
Also the data and research out there as well, right? So data and research first. And then find out, is it a product market fit? And then say, okay, let's take a chance, right?
It seems like so much of the success is like strong product market fit, strong retention.
For sure.
So if the beginning, if you just didn't get the first step right, everything else would have been really, really difficult.
100%, And the other side of advice is to find the right partner to manufacture with. There are so many manufacturers out there. You got to find someone that is willing to take a chance on a small brand as you start out.
How did you guys go about finding yours? Did you go and like...
It was not easy.
You could just fly out to like visit them, or like did you just contact like 20 different ones and just pick the best? Like...
So one thing we made clear with our brands is everything would be made in Canada. Everything is sourced and made here. So
Why did you guys make that decision?
Just, we're Canadian. We don't want to have that skepticism of like, hey, are you making these products overseas? Like, can we trust it? Also,
you
for us
want to be
Indian,
physically
I'm Chinese,
there.
like, we're like, where are you guys making your products? We're like, we're making it right here, right? So it was a bit of that Harold and Kumar kind of thing going on. And we're like, oh, we should make sure everything's done here.
It's something different about building that in-person relationship and you just go visit. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we built it. We did everything here. So pretty much to find a manufacturer, we always make mistakes at first, right? So we went with someone that I would say early on was able to cater to smaller orders at a modest price. So we worked with them at first, but then we weren't happy with some of the results in the end, so we ended up moving. But when I say that about finding the right person, it's your suppliers are like your partners, right? In many ways, it's better to work out kinks and to build that relationship as opposed to constantly moving around. And that's where I would say if you can work with someone that's close to you physically, it's always better if it's possible, because they're within a proximity that makes it easier. Like if my manufacturer was in BC, we'd rely on shipping all the time, or I'd have to fly out there all the time. And I think starting out, it's always a little easier to do it close by.
They're almost like a third co-founder kind of
exactly, right? Like they're you always got to position it that your success is related to them and vice versa, right? If they do a good job for you, you're going to continue to grow. That's more business for them, right? So win-win for everyone.
You don't want to treat it like a transactional relationship. You really want to see it as like you guys are on the same team.
I mean, that's the goal. That's the goal, is to build it up like that. And we have great manufacturers that we work with right now.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Are there anything like, you know how people talk about tech stack? Like, oh, like I use Slack for communication. I use like whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Anything in your tech stack that you think is like interesting / unconventional / just really useful that you want to share?
I don't know about unconventional, but Slack is definitely a big part of our business. So Slack is like literally our communication hub. We have channels for everything, individual direct messaging. Slack has become the main portal of communication, especially with like we're 100% remote, right? We don't have an office. So same, everyone's remote. Slack is key. We also use so we have our business set up from a healthcare practitioner side and the consumer side. So on the healthcare practitioner side, we use HubSpot. HubSpot is our CRM.
Gotcha.
You know HubSpot? It's like a Salesforce in a way, right? But we use that to communicate with our clinician group. So we do a lot of different marketing initiatives with them. We use it for that side. We also have, of course, Shopify, Klaviyo. And I believe we use Figma a bit for like web page design, things like that. But those are the main things, I think, unless I'm missing something. But that's pretty much what we use.
What's maybe like a quote or like a piece of advice from someone that I guess really stuck with you, or just you feel like impacted you along this journey?
You talked earlier about other business ideas, right? Well, one piece of advice which has always resonated with me is to really stay focused as you get going and stay in your lane, right? Like we launched with UTI, we branched out, but it's all like pelvic floor related issues, right? For women, but like vaginal infections, overactive bladders, men and women, UTI prevention. And we honed in this area rather than going into other areas like that, like, head or joints and things like that, right? We focus in this area, put all of our effort into it. And I think that has made a difference for us.
You found something that worked and you stuck to it versus getting distracted. Oh, this is a shiny object. Oh, let's try this. Let's try that.
There's a lot of shiny objects.
Yeah, because every other, people are always going to come and talk to you. Like, well, this is the next big thing. Oh, you got to get in on this,
And one other thing I would also say is just because something looks really big and pretty, like on social media or in ads or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean it's a good picture inside.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll start from the homepage, I guess. So can you remember how to pronounce this again?
Szio.
Szio Plus. Okay, great. The S is silent.
Yes.
Maybe take out the S. All right. So this is more healthcare practitioner facing, right?
Yeah. So this website was actually redone recently. It is more of our corporate website.
Yeah.
Think of it like
so when you go to conferences, this is the website you give to. When you're contacting a clinic, this is the website.
Professional conferences.
Gotcha.
A consumer conference, we'll just send them to the Utiva or the Ferris Home site.
Yeah, that makes sense. So 2019, 100,000 customers. That's insane. Anything interesting about the site that like stands out to you? Like the testimonials look really good, by the way.
Thanks.
I feel like I love like video testimonies. They always I feel like speak a lot.
You know, the like the website, for the purpose of this website pretty much was to make sure that if outside people, not necessarily consumers, were looking at this, they would see a company that has a lot of clinical support.
Yeah.
Obviously that we work with clinicians. We're not just like, hey, like the razzle dazzle, look at my product and try it. Like there's a reason why we are in this space. Also for practitioners, a big part of this website, because if you went onto the patient side, it would just end up taking you to the consumer websites.
Yeah.
But if you stick to the to this side,
yeah,
and you go into the practitioner one, so say you took Utiva,
yeah,
if you click into that, this is now within the Szio Plus website. This is all the information that a clinician might want to see on our products, where they can learn a bit more about the therapeutic areas. I mean, consumers can end up here too, but the doctors can request samples, they can request a meeting, they can see our doctor talks, right? So if you look at, so we have clinic packages, pharmacy packages. Yeah, like we've set this up.
Wow. So I just fill out this form and I get a sample.
We would vet you internally, and then we would put you in contact with the right person. So
Got it. This is the HubSpot book meeting.
Jyoti here, that's our marketing manager for all the healthcare practitioner side.
Gotcha.
But it's a whole system. So if you click on, for example, Doctor Talks, this is another thing we do is we have about 6 to 8 times a year, we'll have doctors come on and do talks about managing different types of conditions, right? And it's a full setup of like urologists, gynecologists. See this for us.
Yeah.
We have our own people doing some education.
Wow, these things have like 14K views. Like, I mean, it's good SEO, right? Because I would search like how to prevent UTI, and people would
if
just
you did that, some of our stuff would show. I mean, we don't pump a lot of money to promote these. Maybe we should, but we have a ton of these. So a lot of these are like the doctor talks, right? So these are talks where we will advertise it to have clinicians come, but we don't invite consumers to it. Right?
Dude, I think what would be really interesting. So I'm not a YouTube SEO expert, but I think there's analytics tools where you can just look at what's the search volume on like how to treat like UTI, for example, right? And like, I think if you guys just did an analysis on like the most popular keywords related to UTI, and then you make these dedicated videos featuring one of your like clinicians that you're really close with, to make like 3 to 8 minute videos for each of these subtopics, I think it would do really well, because it's one of those where you make one, you post once, and then over the next basically decade or 2 decades, it's always going to get views. People are going to search for it and they're going to come and watch this.
Is that something that you or Tuan would do?
Maybe we don't actually. I don't really do. Maybe Tuan. We'll talk about this. But yeah, I think that would be really great, right?
Yeah,
like,
we have a lot of content.
This is like 14,000 views for free, and then these people, they're educated, and obviously she's going to promote your product, and then they're going to come to your website after.
For sure.
Okay, really.
So we do this for iron and for UTI and for all of our products. So if you go back to the so this is our website. So all the clinician stuff is here.
I see.
And you know, it's going to constantly build up, right?
Yeah.
We have quite a lot. And we have this for both Utiva and Ferrosome for iron. And then if you go to this is the consumer site now.
Okay, so the consumer site, hold on, just do a quick refresh. So I love the copy here. This is like, I think this is just really well done. Women agree UTIs are the worst. Doctors agree Utiva is number one for UTI prevention.
This is our first time also doing like a national campaign in Canada, and it's centered around this. So we built this all last year, and we launched it just in the beginning of February this year. Also because we're in Shoppers now too. So we're like, let's do something national to build awareness.
To get that velocity going.
Exactly.
Right. This, I guess, claim, was it hard to get this claim?
Yeah, so if you go back to the other page.
This page?
The product page here. No. Just go forward.
Yeah.
Oh, back to the Shop UTI control. Yeah, so that's the claim here. The number one UTI recommended. Yeah, so it's an organization that will go to physicians and pharmacists and say, hey,
what do you recommend?
Yeah, what do you recommend from an OTC? OTC means over-the-counter perspective, so non-prescription product for UTI prevention. And, that was amazing for us to be able to get that mark to say, hey, physicians and pharmacists recommend us as like number one recommended brand across Canada. I mean, we're still in my eyes, we're still pretty young, and there's a lot of opportunity to go from there. So
it'd be amazing. Say you get this number one for like X years in a row, and then you can say we're the number one. How many years in a row? That'd be insane. But yeah, this is, and then this is all like, I guess, organic. You can't even buy this. even if you wanted to.
Well,
This is just
yeah, I mean, we put a lot of work, I'd say, to get into it, but to use this logo, we have to pay them.
okay, yeah. But what I
But
mean is
yeah.
the doctor's response is like they're just answering to
Exactly,
the survey.
they're
Like,
answering
you
a
can't like
survey.
buy this.
Yeah.
Technically. Okay. This is really cool. So this is
100%,
UTI
yeah.
Control's number one product.
Yep, that's our main
Um,
product.
Let me just go back to the website for a second. So
Yep.
yeah, this campaign looks amazing, I think. The branding is super clean. Did you guys redo this recently? But I think the color
A little
palette,
bit.
all the shots look
Hey,
really, really good.
One thing I definitely give a shout out to, in the end, Faraz and I, when we started the business, like we know what we know, and that's healthcare practitioners and good products.
Yeah.
We could not have gotten to this point without a strong team. And I wanted to make sure I made that clear in this podcast that, without a strong marketing team, the direction that they were able to bring, we could not develop websites like this, have ads like this, reach all the doctors that we are. It's really the success of a business to me is the team that you build around you.
Yeah, your
Right.
team is killing it. This looks
So-
really good. Why you will love us. This is awesome. And then so this is just featuring all of the products that we have. We
And-
got a little solution finder. So this is like a quiz funnel.
It's a quiz, yeah. And it's overall, like we don't have too many products, right? It's just a few key things pretty much. Yeah, so the whole idea is to like go through this quiz, and then in the end, we would recommend you what product is most appropriate for you.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go through just 5,000 reviews, 4.9. That's insane. That's actually
It's been
That's
around
actually
the
crazy.
longest.
So this is the star product.
Yep.
Most powerful, all natural. I'm just going through the product page. Oh yeah, this is the packs, right?
Proanthocyanidins, yeah.
Yeah. 96% of patients taking Utiva experience a significant reduction within the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Based on an internal survey of over 500 customers. Yeah, that's insane. 96%. That's crazy.
I was saying good products, right? If you have a
Yeah.
good product, there will be longevity to it.
Well, I mean, 96% out of 500. I mean, that's like what? There's only one person that didn't experience it. Like, this is pretty much guaranteed to work. Yeah, I thought this was such a good. When I was going through it,
Yeah.
I thought this testimonial was really good, and it's awesome that you guys like featured it. And it's not too long. Like, it's short enough that you can actually skim and read,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, the photography, everything the brand looks really, really good.
Thanks. It's definitely come a long way.
Do a lot of people subscribe or mostly one time?
Well, we have subscription's a big part of it. Like when we're
Yeah.
talking about the retention.
So when people take this, like,
yeah.
they don't just take it for 30 to 60 days. They just end up taking it all year long because they just want to keep UTIs under control.
These products, they only work while you're taking it.
I see.
So if you stop, then it's not going to, the packs won't be there to help stop the infection, right?
Yeah.
So those who take, a lot of people are taking this for years, right? Ongoing. Not only that, see, the one interesting thing about this product in particular is that in the end, it's still cranberry and it's got high packs. The packs stop the bacteria, but the packs also have other benefits. Like there's a lot of other good benefits, but we don't talk about those.
That's not the selling
because
point.
That's not the selling point, right?
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
if people understand it, they'll know as well.
Let's look at Amazon a bit. You told me how big
Yeah.
Amazon was. So
Amazon's
I'm just going to compare the price point really quickly. This is, how much is this? $44.99.
Yeah.
We're at $42.36.
So go to you're probably on subscribe and save. If you click on one-time purchase, it's almost the same.
Oh yeah,
So-
it's basically the same price. Yeah.
The problem with Amazon, and this is for, I'm sure other brands will see this, is that the minute you're on Amazon and other people are able to list your product on Amazon and you start losing control, that's where pricing goes haywire.
Wait, so what do you mean other people?
So we have to sell our products also through distributors. So our products, like the retailers that buy it from us, they don't buy from us direct. They buy through a distributor, and the distributor sells it to the retailer.
Okay.
It's hard to control who buys it from the distributor.
Oh.
And sometimes you'll get Amazon resellers trying to buy your products through distributor.
I
And they'll go on Amazon and
see.
undercut you to win the price.
I see.
And that's a huge headache. And
But-
we're trying to manage that right now.
I guess what the reseller is, I guess, just making a thinner margin.
And they don't care. They make a buck or two, they're okay.
Yeah. And then on your end, your pricing just becomes volatile and you don't really like that.
And then we won't win the Amazon sale if somebody is selling it less, because the Amazon will favor the cheaper price.
But I'm assuming will it come up as a separate listing?
No, they'll list it under your ACE. The way Amazon's set up is that there's one ACE and it's sort of like the mother.
Yeah,
And then other
yeah,
people
yeah.
can list the same product under that. The
I
cheapest
see.
price wins, and then the retailers aren't happy. And the only way for us to win is to lower our price.
What's interesting is that, I mean, here it's from, like,
This is us.
my assumption is
Yeah.
that if you're like a legitimate verified brand,
Yeah.
that Amazon offers you a protection around like other people can't list your products. But is that a thing, or is that just a
No.
rumor I hear?
There is some protection.
Yeah.
There is some protection, but man, like Amazon's a big headache. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
because it's just a free marketplace, and it's
Yeah.
hard to control people doing that kind of stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. It seems like your product photos are similar but pretty different on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Anything
We
like
we have a good Amazon partner, I'd
Yeah,
say. Like
yeah.
a lot of the stuff we outsource. So Amazon, the design and stuff on our website, this is all internal. Our
Yeah.
marketing team is amazing.
yeah.
Same with they also support like the Amazon listings, but we do have an Amazon partner who helps them manage our listings, optimizes them,
Yeah.
advises us on pictures,
The copy.
handles our ad spend on Amazon as well, which we still have a healthy ad spend for
Makes
Amazon
sense,
at
makes
the same
sense.
time.
Nice. Yeah, and
But
then Amazon is so huge for like this like almost like mini landing page.
Mhm.
I feel like I definitely look at this a lot when I buy stuff on Amazon these days. Yeah,
For
it looks really good.
You could see how much a brand invests in their listing. If
Yeah.
you scroll down and you actually see they have things there. Right?
Yeah, you just have how legitimate they are based on that. Anything else about Amazon that you think is just interesting to call out or to note? Or I can move on.
You know, the main thing I would say to anybody going into Amazon is if you are listing on Amazon, make sure you are in control as best possible of being able to cut off people who are selling on Amazon.
Mm.
Because as you grow as a brand, like you're going to have lots of people that want to sell your product.
Yeah.
And you have to find ways to control that.
Yeah.
So that would be the biggest headache.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And I would still say Amazon is cheaper than going to a retailer. Like even though Amazon does take a cut, it's still less than going to a retailer to sell.
I see.
Retailers are much more expensive to work with, I'd say.
Okay, so this is the national campaign that you guys
Yes,
launched,
yeah.
right?
When you see ads like this, so they're all talking about how UTIs are the worst, and
I see.
this is the number one recommended brand to help prevent it.
UTI or period cramps. Dude, this is a great campaign. This is a really, really good campaign.
We just launched it in February, so we're tracking to see how does it do. We're trying to see increased traffic to the website, hopefully increased sales as well, but also retail velocity increase as well at the same time.
Yeah, got it. All of this is directing to this. I'm just gonna scroll back to see what you guys have done in the past. Got it. So this is
we
some
started
UGC.
working a lot of UGC influencers. One thing I would say though is Utiva as a brand for the last 6-7 years has been one of the hardest things for us to try and build awareness and traction from digital marketing perspective. It's very hard, and I think it's because you're trying to capture an audience that is very small. It's like a needle in a haystack.
Yeah,
because it's not a spur of the moment kind of product, right? So then how do you target the person who's suffering from the UTI at that time, which is very hard. One area that we've done, I would say much better with is on the iron side with Ferrosum Forte.
Yeah.
Like the ads resonate more. It's a much more broad based target because I wouldn't say all, but a super high percentage of women.
Yeah,
take
so
iron
it's not
supplements.
just women 40 plus.
Yeah,
It's
it's
women
like
of
Pregnancy
almost all ages.
of all ages. You have heavy menstrual bleeding, for example, surgical related. They resonate with the iron, especially with an iron that is non-constipating, doesn't have the same side effects as typical iron.
Yeah, I can kind of see that there's a bit more, I guess, like creative diversity on the Ferrosum ad. And then I think like what the good thing here is that you guys are featuring women that look like your customers, right? And you're not showing a woman who is in her 30s or 20s. You're showing a woman who's in her 40s plus who has this product. But yeah, I definitely think the more niche something is, it's harder to target that person. But usually, at least with Meta, it's with the creative. So if they feel like the creative only resonates with that customer who is woman who's 40 plus with this specific issue, then based on the watch through time, Meta is going to use that to target them. So Meta used to have a ton of data around what your interests are and what you do. And because of a lot of changes around privacy, they have less data. So they're relying on your behavior and your engagement with the ad to determine who you are and why you're interested, and they're going to find people similar to that. And so ultimately, creative is how you target. Yeah, this is really
there's
cool.
been a lot of effort and content, as you can see, that's been created.
Are you guys spending some budget with like on TV or out of home as well with this campaign, or mainly digital?
So one thing we've been looking at is mainly digital right now to see how that does with like smart TV, for example, along with other like some YouTube.
Yeah,
at the same
YouTube
time.
pre-roll, yeah.
But you know, one area that we want to shift it to at some point as well is to try and drive more mass media as well, like TV, print, or whatever it might be, because in the end, we need. So this is the problem when you go into retail. You have to support the retailers as well.
Yeah.
If we keep trying to push people onto our website, if that hurts us against the retailers, that's a bigger issue as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember at L'Oreal, we had ads driving to shoppers.
Yeah.
And then when we go into the buyers meetings with that ad and we show them, we're like, hey, this is what we're investing. Can we barter and can you give us this in return and et cetera, et cetera.
For sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Sweet. So yeah, I feel like we went through ads, we went through Amazon, shoppers finally loaded. So yeah, like you see, like I had the same issue where shoppers, we would give them certain product images, but there's no guarantee that they use it.
It took us a long time to get into shoppers as well. Like shoppers was an account that took, like we would have taken the chance to go into shoppers earlier. Yeah. Even though it's risky when I was talking about going into retail, but shoppers is one we would have taken that on, but they never took us until last year.
I see.
It took us a while.
I see. So it's only been like not even 12 months yet with shoppers.
No, not even. Like we were probably in July, August. We're getting on the shelf around that time frame.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. Awesome. All right. I think that's a wrap. I feel like we got anything else we want to.
No. Yeah. Hey, I think it's great. I think happy to share the story with you. Yeah. I think the bigger part about this is just like the grind to get through, to get something started.
Yeah.
I think that is the moral of the story, is just to keep pushing through. Yeah. And have quality products. Live and stand and live behind what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
Going 7 years strong.
Yeah, 7 years. You know, we don't have that big like, hey, let's flip the business mentality.
Yeah.
But let's see where it goes, because the way we've structured and built it is like a mini J&J, a mini L'Oreal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
When the time comes down the road, maybe there would be interest.
Yeah, I think once you build a good product that people genuinely benefit from, everything else becomes a little bit easier. And so, yeah, it's really cool to get to know your story. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for making the time.
Glad to share.
Appreciate it.
Hey,
thanks, man.
Thanks, James.